Forget what you've been told in elementary school. Christopher Columbus did not sail into the unknown to prove the Earth was round. By 1492, just about every educated person in Europe already knew the planet was a sphere. The real battle wasn't against flat Earth skeptics. It was a battle of mathematics. And Columbus's math was dangerously, almost fatally wrong. He believed the Earth was tiny, nearly a third smaller than its actual size. He was convinced that by sailing west from Spain, Asia would be waiting for him just 3,000 miles away. If a massive, unmapped continent hadn't been blocking his path, Columbus and his entire crew would have starved to death. In the middle of a vast, endless ocean, on August 3rd, 1492, three small wooden ships, the Santa María, the Pinta, and the Niña, slipped out of the tiny Spanish port of Palos de la Frontera. On board were 90 men, not convicts or pirates, but skilled Iberian sailors, royal officials, and a mapmaker. But as the Canary Islands faded into the eastern horizon in September, the true horror of their journey began to sink in. They had entered the realm of the trade winds, the Alisios. These powerful, steady winds blew constantly from the east, pushing the three small ships deeper and deeper into the watery desert. But the sailors soon realized a terrifying truth. If the wind only blows west, how would they ever sail back home? To prevent a mutiny, Columbus resorted to a desperate deception. In his private cabin, he kept 2 navigation logs. In the real one, he recorded their true progress. But in the log, he showed his crew. He artificially shortened the daily distances. He wanted them to believe they were still close to Spain. But you can't hide the ocean. By October, they had sailed further west than any European in recorded history. For over 30 days, they saw nothing but blue water. The food was rotting. The water casks were growing foul. Martin Alonso Pinzon, the capable captain of the Pinta, and Columbus's second-in-command, was losing patience. The crew was whispering in the shadows, staring at the Atlantic, wondering if they were sailing off the edge of survival. On October 10th, the tension finally snapped. The crew of the Santa Maria openly revolted. They demanded to turn back. Columbus, standing on the high deck of his flagship, faced a choice that would define history. He didn't order them chained. Instead, he made a high-stakes bargain. "Give me 3 more days," he pleaded. "If we do not sight land by then, we will turn around." It was a desperate gamble. Columbus knew he had no margin for error. 2 days passed. Nothing. Then, on the night of October 11th, Columbus claimed he saw a faint, flickering light in the pitch-black distance, like a tiny wax candle. At 2 a.m. on October 12th, a cannon blast shattered the silence. It came from the Pinta sailing ahead. Lookout named Rodrigo de Triana had spotted white cliffs under the moonlight. But human nature is fragile. The Spanish crown had promised a lifetime pension to the first man who saw land. Even though young Rodrigo had sounded the alarm, Columbus later claimed he was the one who saw that mysterious, flickering light hours earlier. Columbus took the pension. Rodrigo got nothing. At dawn, Columbus stepped ashore on a sandy beach in what is now the Bahamas. He named the island San Salvador. The local Taino people came down to the shore to meet them. They offered water, parrots, and cotton threads.
Columbus, utterly convinced he had reached the outskirts of India, called them Indians.
But while the initial exchange seemed peaceful, Columbus's journal reveals his immediate, dark ambition. On that very first day, he wrote, "They should be good servants. With 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want." From there, the expedition pushed south, searching for the golden palaces of the Great Khan. Instead, they found Cuba and Hispaniola and disaster. On Christmas Eve, off the coast of modern-day Haiti, the sea was calm. An exhausted Columbus went to sleep. The helmsman followed his lead, handing the heavy wooden rudder of the flagship Santa Maria to a young cabin boy. It was a fatal mistake. The gentle currents drifted the massive ship onto a coral reef. The Santa Maria was wrecked. Stranded with only 2 smaller ships, Columbus could not fit all his men for the journey back. He had to leave 39 sailors behind, in a makeshift fort built from the timbers of the wrecked flagship. When Columbus sailed east to return to Spain in January 1493, he left behind a fragile piece, a shattered ship, and a seed of European presence in a world that had no idea what was coming. Columbus returned to Spain a hero. He believed until his dying day that he had found the back door to Asia. He was wrong about his destination. But his error connected 2 halves of the planet that had been separated for 10,000 years. It brought potatoes, corn, and silver to Europe. But it also brought smallpox, slavery, and absolute devastation to the Taino people. Within decades of this first contact, their civilization was virtually extinct. Our primary record of these events comes from a summary of Columbus's journals, transcribed decades later by the priest Bartolomé de las Casas. While the geographical details match, historians remind us that Las Casas had his own agenda, and Columbus was writing to justify his massive royal funding. Columbus's first voyage was driven by a mathematical mistake, kept alive by a lie to his crew, and crowned by a tragic accident on Christmas night.
If you had been standing on the deck of the Santa Maria on October 10th,
Would you have demanded to turn back? Or would you have given Columbus those last 3 days? Let me know in the comments below.